So, what if you could predict the future of your business? No, not with a crystal ball, but with data you probably already have just sitting there. Today, we're going to break down a really simple but super powerful way to do exactly that. Let's get into it.
Okay, so picture this. You're running a business, you're pouring money into advertising, and every single month you're faced with this huge, high-stakes question. Is any of this actually doing anything? How do you really know if all that ad spend is moving the needle on your sales? Well, the good news is you don't really need a psychic. The answer is almost always hiding in plain sight, right inside the data you've already collected. We're going to go digging for the hidden pattern in your past performance to help shine a light on the future. So how do we find it? Well, we're going to start by just looking at the relationship between what we put in, our advertising, and what we get out, our sales. And believe it or not, it all starts with the simple power of a straight line. All we need to get started are two little pieces of info: the number of hours we spent on ad campaigns each month and the total sales we made in that same month. That's it. Pretty simple, right? Okay, here's our data all plotted out. Each one of those little dots represents a single month. So just looking at this cloud of points, can you kind of see a trend? I mean, it seems like more ad hours leads to more sales, but the relationship isn't perfect, is it? It's a little messy. And boom, this is where the magic happens. A technique called linear regression looks at all those scattered points and draws the one single straight line that best cuts through them all. This line, that is our pattern. That's the tool we're going to use to make our predictions.
Okay, great. We've got a line. So now what? Well, in this next part, we're going to take this visual pattern and forge it into a simple, but an incredibly powerful formula that can actually predict the future.
Now, the official name for what we're doing here is called simple linear regression. I know it sounds a little technical, but it's just a fancy term for a really straightforward idea. We're just using a straight line to describe the connection between two things so we can get a good idea of what might happen next. And here it is. This is the engine of our whole predictor. This little formula is that line we just saw. Now, I know it might be giving you flashbacks to high school math, but stick with me. It's really simple. It just says our predicted sales equals some number A times our advertising hours plus another number B. So what on earth are A and B? Let's break it down. A is what we can call the multiplier. Think of it as the power of one extra hour of work. So if A turns out to be, say, 50, it means for every single extra hour we put into advertising, we can expect sales to go up by 50 units. Then there's B. That's just our baseline. It's the sales we'd expect if we did zero advertising at all. It's our starting point. So we've built our predictor, but here's the thing, and this is probably the most important part. We can't just trust it blindly. We have to ask the big question. Is this model actually any good, or is it just a lucky guess? It's time to grade our crystal ball. I mean, seriously, how do we know? Before you go and bet the company's entire budget based on this formula, we have to check our work. We need some kind of objective way to measure its performance and make sure it's actually reliable. And luckily for us, there are two fantastic tools for the job. The first one is called R-squared, and the second one is something called residuals. Let's take a quick look at each one. So R-squared, the easiest way to think about it is like a report card for our model. It's just a number between 0 and 100%, and it tells us how much of the ups and downs in our sales can be explained by the ups and downs in our advertising. And yeah, a higher score is definitely better. And here's the coolest part. There's a specific way to talk about this number. You literally just plug your R-squared value into this sentence right here. So if our model got an R-squared of 85%, we could confidently say 85% of the variation in our sales is explained by the variation in our advertising. That's a really powerful statement to be able to make. Okay, so our second tool is looking at the residuals. Now, don't let the name scare you off. It's just a fancy term for checking our homework. For every single month, the residual is just the leftover error. It's the difference between what our line predicted would happen and what actually happened. So what you do is you calculate these little errors for every single month, and what you're hoping to find is basically a random mess. Seriously, you want the errors to be totally scattered and unpredictable. Because if you see a clear pattern, like the errors are all forming a curve or something, that's a huge red flag. It means our simple straight line isn't telling the whole story.
All right, so let's say we did our homework, we checked our R-squared and it looks pretty strong. We looked at our residuals and they're a beautiful random mess. Our model has been graded, it's been validated, and it is ready to go. Now, it's time for the payoff. Time to put this thing to work. This is where we get to answer a real, honest-to-goodness question about the future. Let's say next month we decide to invest 150 hours in advertising. What can we reasonably expect our sales to be? Well, we just dust off that formula we made. We pop in our numbers for A and B, our multiplier and our base, and then we plug in the new number, 150 for advertising hours. The machine is all set up, we just need to turn the crank. And there we have it. The math tells us our model predicts we'll see a certain number of units in sales. And just like that, we've taken a pile of historical data and turned it into a specific, actionable forecast about the future. So let's just pause for a second and think about what we just did. We started with what was basically just a simple spreadsheet of numbers, right? Hours and sales. And by finding a pattern and building a simple model, we transformed that raw data into an actual insight that can help us make much smarter business decisions. And look, this whole technique is incredibly versatile. It is so much bigger than just advertising and sales. So that really just leaves one final question for you. What else in your world has a relationship that you could understand and maybe even predict, all with the simple power of a straight line?